Namaskaram and welcome to the day 3 of the Abhijnana Shankaram series. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram. Over the last 2 days, we looked at the Avatara Karanam of the Acharya and a glimpse of his contributions to Sanatana Dharma. Today, we shall look at again a glimpse, probably the very tip of the iceberg of what was the philosophy that the Acharya spread, the Acharya professed, the Acharya re-established, what we refer to as Advaita. As mentioned in the previous sessions, the Upanishads, called as Vedanta, or the culmination of the Vedas, or the essence of the Vedas, that is the essence of all knowledge. Now, if you look at knowledge itself, in the modern context, we speak of knowledge as information or understanding that we have of another object. So we or I, the knower, knows about an object. So there is a knower, there is a known object, and then there is this process of knowing, which results in knowledge. So everything comes under this ambit of the subject, which is trying to know, the object, which is being known, through the process of knowing, and as a result of which knowledge accrues, or the subject becomes knowledgeable about the object. What could be the essence of all this knowledge? So the object are diverse. We have diverse objects, and each object is known in a different way, which led to different kinds of sciences and different kinds of different streams, different disciplines of sciences, through which we know different objects. In the space, different planets and stars which are beyond, outside the Earth or beyond the Earth. On the Earth, we know about different objects. The beings that are inhabited on the Earth, we know about them. The fellow human beings whom we are living with, we try to know about them. All these are different streams or disciplines of knowledge. So when we say essence of all knowledge, what does it mean? The seers, as they were seeking this, they found that it's fine that the subject is knowing the object and it results in different streams of knowledge, but what about the subject itself? What do we know about the subject? So if I am knowing, what do I know about myself? In the sense, I am here not talking about the physical body or the mind or the intelligence as we know of it today in the modern science, because even that we know of as how a medical student or a practitioner of medicine or a particular stream of health, he or she studies the physical body based on other physical bodies, based on other objects, the physical bodies of fellow humans or physical bodies of patients. So there is still a duality, there is still a subject-object relationship you're seeing in the external world, and that is how you study the physical bodies. Similarly, the mental, the stream of psychology, you try to study the minds of people, which again is a subject and object kind of relationship. But here, the seers said, hey, wait, I don't have to know anything outside of me. All things outside of me is fine. We know about all those streams of knowledge. But what about me, the one who is knowing, the knower? What about this knower? What do we know about the knower? So they stopped there at a particular point of time, they stopped their seeking outward and started turning inward and started looking inside themselves to deep dive and see what do they know about themselves. What do they know about their own physical bodies? What do they know about the life energies that is flowing through the physical body? What do they know about the mental state and the emotions and the feelings that they are experiencing? What do they know about the rationality and the logic and the intelligence that is driving all this? And when all this subsides in the deep sleep state, what is it that they are experiencing, or what is it that they are knowing? What is it that is being perceived? So these were the stages of knowing oneself internally. This is what is traditionally referred to as the Pancha Kosha, the Annamaya Kosha, which refers to the physical body, the Pranamaya Kosha, that refers to the life energies that are driving this physical body, Manomaya Kosha, which is the mental sheath, which comprises of your emotions and feelings and thoughts and all these aspects, Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the rationality, the logic, the intelligence that is driving this entire process, and Anandamaya Kosha, that is what is experienced in deep sleep when everything else has become latent. So the seers started analyzing this inward because they knew that outward you can keep on going and going, but you are not reaching any end there. There is no end. So they started looking at the knower itself, because if the knower is known, naturally all that is being known is through the knower. So you get the clue of the basis of all knowledge in the knower itself. So as they started going deeper this way, from one level to the other, from the next level to the next, as their analysis and their seeking became subtler and subtler, from the gross to the subtle, they finally realized that the true nature of the knower is not the physical body, is not the life energy, is not the mental body or the mind, is not the intelligence, neither is it that null state or shunya sthiti that you experience in deep sleep, the darkness that you experience in deep sleep. It is neither that. There is something even beyond it. And that is when they saw that, when they struck that, when they realized that, they realized that that is the true nature of their own self. And that is what they refer to as Atman. That is what they refer to as Brahman, the supreme self, and the substratum on which the entire universe exists. And once they knew this process, they had done this analysis on themselves inward and realized it, they could very easily then see that this is the same with everything around, and everything around is nothing but sustained on that same Brahman. Because at that state, there is no difference. This is something even which we can experience, because in the waking state, of course, we have dualities. We see people different. We see different people, different objects around us. We clearly see dualities. We clearly see differences. The moment we go from the waking state to the dream state, the entire waking world is destroyed and a new world, a dream world, is created. But even in the dream world, you have dualities. You see people around, you see things around. And it is more or less a similar experience of what you had in the waking state. But it appears less solid or less tangible because of the very nature of the dream state. But once this dream state also goes away and you have a dreamless sleep, in that state, the existence has got no name. You don't see any name or form in that existence, in that state. You continue to be alive, you continue to exist, but you don't see anything, or you don't experience any duality. Any other object is missing there. But what you see all around is darkness. The state beyond this, when you realize your true self, is the same state of non-duality, but the darkness disappears and your true self, the illumined self, shines forth. This is the process. So you can realize that even in a deep sleep state, all humanity becomes one. At dream state, yes, we are still different, because I could see a different dream, you could see a different dream, I could myself see different dreams on different days. So my experiences are so varied. But in the deep sleep state, where I don't see anything, that I don't experience anything with my senses, and so does another individual, there itself a unity comes in the deep sleep state, where both of us have the same experience. And this experience of the deep sleep is common to everyone. And that forms the basis of Advaita, or unity. And then when you realize your true self, you realize that the life within me is no different from the life within an ant, or the life within an elephant, or the life within a blue whale. The life is the same. It is not that just because the physical body is huge, it will have a bigger life. And because the physical body is small in an ant, it will have a smaller life. No, life is life across. From this state of seeing the life within, that is, when this analysis is done, the seer sees and examines himself or herself deeper inside, realizes the true nature of the self inside him or her. Once he sees himself or herself inside, then he realizes that the physical appearance is but an appearance in Brahman, and not the other way, that Brahman is inside the physical body. It's just like you have the very famous story of the frog in the well. So the frog in the well, from the perspective of the frog in the well, the sky is but a covering over the well, and the expanse of the sky is only the expanse of the circumference of the well. That is all the expanse of the sky is. So the sky is a part of the well for the frog in the well. But the moment the frog comes out of the well, it realizes that the well is but an insignificant portion in the vast space that surrounds, and sky is actually infinite. So this experience of the frog when it is inside the well and the frog when it comes out of the well are totally two different things, which the frog in the well can never comprehend unless it comes out. So how much ever you try to make it understand, the frog in the well is never going to understand that the well is but an insignificant portion of the sky, or the expanse of the sky in comparison. It will always feel that the sky is but a portion of the well, and the well is what limits the sky. The well provides the boundary to the sky. So this is exactly the difference that is between a person who is not realizing his life inside him versus the one who is realized and just sees the body as an appearance in the vast expanse of life or Brahman. There are so many examples given in the Upanishads to describe this. But this, in essence, is the message of the Upanishads, to say that that is the fullest, that is the true nature of the human, the individual, the every living being. And to realize that is the ultimate objective of human pursuit, because that is where your seeking stops. Your knowledge stops because you have known the knower himself or herself. What is there beyond there to know? Because it is only through the knower everything else is known. If there is no knower, who will know the object? So as I mentioned in my earlier equation of the subject and the object and the process of knowing and knowledge, all this is possible only when there is a live subject. Even if that subject is dead, it doesn't have any use. The subject has to be lively. That means it has to be an alive subject who has the cognition, who can comprehend, who can know. That means the essence of entire knowledge does not lie in the varied objects or in the process of knowing externally, but it lies in the knower himself or herself. There is something inside the knower which helps him or her to know. What is that something? That something is Brahman. And how does Brahman know? Because the very nature of Brahman is to know. The very nature of Brahman is Sat, Chit, Ananda. The very nature of Brahman is to exist, is consciousness, that is to know, to be aware, and bliss, to be always content, to be always blissful. So, to exist, to know, and to be content, to be full, that is the nature of Brahman. And that is what your true nature is. So you then become the all-existent, all-time existent, all-knowing, all-time blissful entity. This is the message of the Upanishads. This is the message of Vedanta. And this is exactly what the Acharya explained through his commentaries, through his bhashyas, to tell the people that you might be following any kind of path. You might be following the path of rituals. You might be following the path of yoga. You might be following the path of devotion. You might be following the path of karma. You might be following the path of tantra, or any path that you follow. You are all operating in the realm of duality. The entire world operates in the realm of duality. And neither does the Upanishad condemn it, nor does Acharya condemn it. He says that that is the way the world is. The world can only operate in the realm of duality. So if you have to carry on your mundane, your worldly affairs, you have to operate in the realm of duality. So this is a misconception we should never have, that Advaita means shunning the whole world and just believing that everything that you see around you is an illusion. No. Advaita does not say that, neither do the Upanishads say that. They only say that at your level of maturity for operation in the world, all these things do exist. You are not expected to hallucinate. You are not expected to imagine things that are not there. That is not the objective of Vedanta. That is not the objective of the Upanishads. The objective of the Upanishad is just the contrary, to really look at what is there and not be under the impression that something is there, not be under the imagination, not to be under the hallucination that something is there. So it wants to clear you of your hallucination, not bring in a hallucination. So if you, just by reading the Upanishads, if you start thinking that, yes, I am this Brahman and Atman and all my body and everything is just illusion and just appearance and people around me are appearance, then you're fooling yourself, because you are not seeing it that way, you're not experiencing it that way. So then what is the point in just imagining yourself being that way? The message of the Upanishads is to see things as they are, to start there, to be truthful to yourself and see things as it is. What do I mean by saying see things as it is? A very common example, you see a person walking towards you. You know, you have known that person for a long time. You have had some kind of bad experience with the person in the past. What props up into your mind immediately when you see the person walking towards you? You have some bad feelings. All those memories come by to you. And you feel that you must not talk to him or her. You must remain away. Probably you should walk away, or probably if that person says something, you try to give back to the person. You try to ill-treat the person. So all this happened because of what? The person did not say anything. The person just came. But the memories, the past memories associated with that individual brought in this entire reaction, the response. But in reality, in truth, the person has just walked to you. Is it feasible for you to look at the person afresh from the point, considering that this is T0 and from here is when I want to know that person or see that person with a fresh perspective? So what Upanishads say is all your life is already revolving around hallucinations and imaginations and memories, because you're constantly being guided by memories and imaginations of the past and the future and hallucinations. So your entire life is driven by that. So the starting point of Vedanta is to look things as they are. And the moment you start looking things as it is, then is where you start developing an insight into things, of what things are. Why does the same person behave differently at different points of time? What makes him behave differently at different points of time? Who is he? Is it the mind that is behaving differently? Is it his upbringing that is causing all this? Is it the situation that is creating different kinds of problems? As you keep delving deeper and deeper and deeper, is where then finally Vedanta reaches the point to say that the person is but Brahman, is but the self. At the level of the self, there is no difference between him and me. The same life in me lies within him. Yes, there are a lot of conditionings, there are a lot of impressions and vasanas that are guiding me in a different way and him in a different way. But I learned to see that different from him as a person. I learned to see that he and me are the same at one level, but there are certain areas where he is differing because of certain reasons, and I am able to see that clarity. I'm able to get that clarity in why what is happening. And that is the greatest insight that Upanishads and the Vedanta gives you. That is why such a person who is moving in that direction more towards the realization, he starts becoming clearer and clearer, and he becomes more and more sane. From the insanity of the world, he becomes more and more sane. And he is able to look at the world from a perfectly clear perspective, because he knows what is real, what is imaginary, what is hallucination. So that is the objective of the Upanishads, and that is exactly what the Acharya explained through his bhashyas and through his commentaries, through various examples, the most famous being the rope and the snake. Wrongly imagining the rope to be the snake. You see a rope lying down. Probably there is dim light. In that light, there is some kind of breeze, and the rope slightly moves here and there, and you suddenly feel that there is some reptile that is moving, and probably it's a snake. The moment the thought of the snake comes into your mind, you start getting, your entire body reacts to it. A real fear develops in you, until somebody just ons the light and you see that it is just a rope. So many of the things that we do in life is just like this. You don't see what is the reality of the situation, what is the truthfulness, what is the true situation, and you have your own imaginations and own vagaries of the mind running and guiding you to do different things. This is what Vedanta says don't do. See with a very incisive, do an incisive inquiry with an incisive mind, with a very sharp intellect. Try to keep on investigating into things. Even you yourself, what is your true identity? You are associating yourself with many things, but is that really you? You associate yourself with your wealth, with your fame, with your name, but does it have any tangibility? The very next day, your wealth could go away. Do you stop to exist? The very next day, your fame could go away. Do you stop to exist? Your name could go away, your family could go away. Do you cease to exist at any point of time? No. So what is it that you are, and what have you gathered from the external world saying this is me or this is mine? This is what the entire inquiry of the Upanishads is into. And that is what establishes the universality of the Upanishads. The Upanishads were not written down, or were not developed, or were not handed over to us only for this group of people who are in this Indian subcontinent. It spoke about humanity. It spoke about every human. It spoke about every living being, in fact, every living entity. If you have life, then this is it. This is the analysis of that. So the universality or the universal appeal of the Upanishads became most evident when Acharya Shankara brought it out and said that this is what is the true purport of the Upanishads. And he said that the ultimate state is that you are Brahman. And that's it. You become the supreme. You become one with that supreme essence, and you become one with the entire world. In today's world, isn't this what we need? To have this empathy, even start with empathy, to empathize with another person, to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And Vedanta takes it to the highest level to say that you are nothing but him or her. So if she or he is experiencing the pain, wouldn't it be a pain to you as well? Then why would you do that? Why would you do ill treat, or why would you do something harm to somebody else when you know that you and him or her are the same? So that's the level to which Vedanta takes us, the highest goal of humanity, to be one, to say that everyone is the same. And there is no difference between even you and somebody sitting up saying God. No, there is nothing like you and God. They're all same. So it broke all myths of you being separate than God, you being separate than somebody else, somebody being superior or somebody being inferior. No, it said that at the ultimate stage, everybody is the same. But in practice, when you're putting things into practice, this is not going to work. You may have to use your power somewhere, you may have to become the superior somewhere, you may have to become the subordinate somewhere. That is the play, the drama that is running. People do take up different roles and have to function so that the outcome is achieved, the desired outcome is achieved. But that does not have got to do anything with your true identity, or your feelings towards others should not get affected by that. So this was the purport, and that came the truest sense in the Advaita Vedanta, the Advaita Siddhanta that Acharya re-established. And that is why, though later Acharyas came and they gave different interpretations to the Upanishads in the form of the Supreme being Vishnu, the Supreme being Narayana, the Supreme being Krishna, as the individual soul can never become Krishna, or can never become Vishnu, or can never become Narayana. They can only be subservient, or be a servant, or be a dasa to the Lord, and the Lord is supreme. Even when those kind of different interpretations came, they all helped in devotion, they all helped in propagating bhakti, they all helped in propagating the karma and gaining purity of the mind. All those aspects, as I mentioned, were gained through those acharyas and their philosophies. But they lacked universality because they brought in a formful theological aspect. So only the followers of Vishnu would accept that Vishnu is the supreme. If I am a follower of Shiva, or I am a follower of Christ, or I am a follower of the Prophet, for me it no more holds, it is no more relevant. But Brahman, as the one supreme being, applies to anybody and everybody, because that one supreme, you call him by any name, doesn't matter. The Upanishads defined or called it as Brahman, and in most cases it refers to it, not as him or her. It is it. So it as Brahman just means the all-pervasive thing, the all-pervasive being. So that all-pervasive being could be Shiva for you, could be Vishnu for somebody, could be Allah for somebody, could be Christ for somebody. But at the end, when all these names go away, the essence is the same. And that is what kept the Advaita Vedanta, and still keeps the Advaita Vedanta as a crest jewel among the different schools of Vedanta as well. With this, we have been just able to get a glimpse, maybe just scratch a bit, tip of the iceberg of what the Upanishadic philosophy and the Advaita philosophy is. We'll continue this journey of the Vijnana Shankaram for the next 2 days as well, until we meet next. Namaskar.